Good day to all. Welcome to Extreme Recap. When she was just 14 years old, her parents forced her to get married. A day after she wedded the ladies, her better half offered her to the seedy area of town and unpleasant painted her with lipstick and shadow. From that point forward, they put a fabric in her mouth and gave her a no stud. Tears and blood joined together at this very moment. Now, all you need to do to fool the SAT is open your legs, not your mouth. The girl, on the other hand, didn't want to fall that way. She stopped taking customers when he arrived, bit her first climb, and wept for 3 days. The pimp had no genuine choice but to call a woman directly. This woman was the driver of the area's most expensive vehicle. On her feet, she carried a pound of gold. After getting out of the car, the woman walked leisurely through the street wearing black sunglasses and carrying an umbrella. She was treated with respect by everyone who was passing by. The gangu 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 Bai gave the gross lolly a glass of water when she awoke because she is the queen of Mumbai's red light district. The young lady hasn't had a beverage of water in 3 days. She stated that she was compelled to leave and could not remain here. I'm grateful. Said that you can never leave this building once you enter it. After all, girls were given permission to return home only to have their families execute them in public. The girl left Gangubai when she told him that her new husband had sold her to a brothel. She said that he wanted the girl to be the wife of the whole world. Gangubai is one of the models for stories like this, which feature a significant amount of the shady part of town. Gong Goodbye was born into a prominent family and was the only child. She often dreamed of becoming an entertainer, and her father was a lawyer. One day, her boyfriend Will. When Rami went to Gangubai, he told her that he was his annual field producer and that he might be able to recommend her as an actress. Gong Kubai was astonished but didn't think about it. Therefore, she gathered her belongings and traveled to Mumbai with her beloved by train. Ramnik left under the ruse that he wanted to see his aunt walk by, and when they got there, he waited for a long time. He then saw a woman and couldn't resist going into the room where Ramnik had just left. Sheila said, "Let's change your destiny," as she waved goodbye to Gong. Right now, she was unaware that she had vanished from the clouds into hell during the simple farewell. She followed Sheila's instructions and entered the next room. She was, notwithstanding, detained when she went into the room. It was all a scam. Gangubai couldn't accept it when her sweetheart sold her a gong in Mumbai's shady area of town for Rs. 1,000. After not eating or drinking for 2 days, she wanted to return home. However, Gangu's final surrender was the best course of action to avoid the current predicament. After a few days, she put powder on her face and followed the other women to the door. She was assisted with raising her arms and feet by the sword associate close to her. After that, she showed Gangu how to shake her hand and helped her by pinning her skirt in the right place. She did nothing more than wave to the others. At the point when he saw her, a man strolled by and his eyes illuminated. In this way, Gong Goop, I found a client. The client left a tip since they were satisfied. The smuggler handed the money over to Gong Goodbye. She put the money on the candle, lit it, and sold it for a lot of money, both for Bravo and for herself. She gave her associates the gems she had gotten from clients in her extra time as opposed to keeping it. She was adored by the young ladies because she wrote letters to their families for them. Before requesting a break to take the girls to the movies, Gong Gubai worked here for a year. The pen thinks this is inconceivable. She said that profit and loss statements are common in the business world. The clients were engaged by the swindler all night. The young ladies were then set free from the Bravo. The final female was a little reluctant. Give the girl a push and bake it, Gong Gu. She was aware that since she was a successful businesswoman, the Bob could not harm her. However, in the event that the Bob intended to harm her, she had no idea what would happen. She could get it done. In the night, a man called Fr and O to say goodbye. The runner was additionally at first baffled. Nonetheless, after hearing the man's name, she advised her to take the client when she went to wake up on her farewell. It turns out that this man likes to be a woman. He came only to vent his rage here. Does Gangu Biden have a lot to say about it? She was grabbed by the man's hair and thrown against the wall. The conman smugly inquired about the room's condition from outside the door. In any case, I didn't intend to enter that way. Gangubai required 15 stomach stitches in the end. She needed stitches in her lip and had broken limbs. The pimples, who were hypocritical and worried about her in the hospital. Everyone pointed to their better noses. Through her partners, Gangubai learns that the man is a group of nearby criminals. Many regard Rahim, a gangster, as a person of integrity. By God's grace, Gangu got out of the hospital and used his connections to get in touch with the gangster Rahim because he especially could not forgive a man for beating a woman. The lady eliminated her inverse gang clothing. She quickly smiled. See, because it's on this stunning woman's body. Ace runs from the shoulder to the stomach. Additionally, his man was the real driver of this vehicle, and he was so regretful of his actions that he sent his men to watch the entry of the shady house and offered to give a gong made of money. However, Gong expanded rapidly. That this matter was not about cash. Rahim was impressed by Gangubai's bravery. She turns into Rahim's sister on his own drive. A few days after the event. The one who appreciates winning returned once more. Because they were afraid, the co-workers advised Gangu to reject him. The Gangu claims that even if he offers twice as much, she will still accept him because of his persistence. Because she is aware that she will never pass up a chance to make money, the prostitute is willing to pay Gangu. Gangu bravely enters the room by himself. Her co-workers rushed to inform her while the body was outside the door and turned on the radio at will. She was unaware, however, that a gangster's vehicle had struck the Bravo before the man could even get into a fight. After they kicked the door open, they dragged the man out. Rahim adhered the man to the vehicle and beat him up. Rain gave the men a quick glance back at the gong to say goodbye before putting on his shades and leaving Gangubai. Kicked the aggrieved man. Much obliged to you. After this fight, Vancouver was well known, as was the pimp. The gangba was feared. Would bring a gangster to her because she had been complicit in the past. She was actually terrified to the point of death, despite the love and support she received from her co-workers. Gangubai accepted the white sari they gave her, and she became a different kind of woman. Be that as it may, she actually doesn't need this. The other seer when she was younger. And furthermore endeavored to menace her with a couple of words. After Gangu addressed the issue of leftover requests and payoffs, she had the option to accept the position. Gangu had changed brothels by that point. She offered choices to the young ladies who had been hoodwinked. Similar to her, she would pay for the girls' recovery and send them home if the young woman preferred toxin to saying. The bewilderment of his men made Gangubai giggle. Gangu, it ends up, needs to take the young ladies here that day to go further along with Gong. Hubai mentioned that the tailor makes shirts for her. Because the designer was old, he carried his child's nephew to help the child and felt very guiltless about it. He had just looked at Gongubai's clothes, and as he sat down on the seat on Saturday, he became flushed and looked sorry in front of her. And when the shy son of a Boulder Hat, who looked very different from the man in the red light district, was asked to pick a white color, he quickly won Gongubai's heart. Also, the political race was won by Cuba's principal rivals. Subsequent to being incited by Rushmi, by Gong, farewell goes to the hoodlum Rahim. Rushmi by has been the leader of the district for 2 successive years and is viewed as the sovereign by local people. She offered to help him sell liquor in a whorehouse and give him 20% of the profits right away, but he was reluctant to participate. As a result, Gong might have said that the lives of the women are more important than her own reputation. She could assist the women living in the red light district in improving their lives if she won. He briefly remained silent there. In any case, finally lost to Gangubai thought, he similarly gave Gong Jiu by a vehicle and mentioned that she call herself a mafia sovereign. When God brought the news to my attention, Rahim began once and for all to support Gong Jiu. He illuminated the police in regards to Gong Kubai unlawful alcohol bargains. The police quickly searched the Bravo. Thankfully, Gong Jiu-bai was prepared. She managed to conceal the alcohol and evade the police while Gong Jiu, who rushed me by, was about to deliver a speech. The film was her own expense. Owing to this, I was furious because no one had spoken to rush me. She was aware that Gangubai desired equality for prostitutes. She wanted the wedding to take place in this location, but it was never going to happen. Hurry up by a dozen. Recognize how challenging it can be for a person to give themselves what they want. The girl's mother keeps her in a cage so that the 15-year-old won't become a Bravo. Prostitutes trade their bodies every night for better-off children. Kimmy is old enough to get married. Be that as it may, nobody marries in the red life area. It is, according to Gong Ji Bai, a possibility. Get hitched in light of the fact that she thought of her as Melody Darling. Therefore, Gangubai brought 350 grams of gold to the young lady. Despite the fact that they saw such an important fortune, the child's folks needed to decline to acknowledge a whore as their girl in regulation Gangu on the grounds that they accepted that the whore wouldn't offer their child. The girl's mother was not a prostitute, despite her appearance. They finally agreed to have a daughter named Kimmy. Gangubai was content before the law. If anyone was unhappy, he would catch up with Gangubai and inquire if she had a heart. Gangubai, on the other hand, is actually willing to part with 100 of her lovers for the girls, despite the fact that she would be extremely depressed as well. The wedding was the first to be held in Mumbai's red light district. As a result, it was a big event. Standing upstairs and observing the groom below, Gong Kubai experienced mixed emotions. Notwithstanding the way that she encounters torment consistently, she was ready to surrender her joy for these young ladies. However, despite all of her sacrifices, this wedding paid off. Come away. Received initial support. I am, however. She won the election to represent her district. Gangubai stated in a speech that she would assist each girl. She wanted to guarantee that every girl would be able to live here in peace and dignity. Prostitutes, on the other hand, continue to face discrimination even after she was elected mayor. Gangu finally found the courage to call her mother after 12 years, but she got a cold response. At the point when she figured out that her dad wouldn't excuse her until he passed on, she burst out crying. Later, Gong Ji Bai learns that the school has asked all of the prostitutes' children to leave because it was worried that they would cause problems for the students. Gong Kubai simply refused to accept it. Gong Kubai didn't avoid the strain from any bearing. Even though the girls had come from brothels, they were entitled to an education, so she rushed with a group of girls to the principal's office and demanded that they enroll. Their lives would be completely different when these young women became specialists, designers, etc. The school would be greatly honored by that. Gangubai wrote their names on the acceptance letter. The top of the school planned to say something. A reporter was conducting an interview with the girls. As a result, the chief had little to say a few days after the fact. After the girls showed up to school, the teachers kicked them out. Gong Ji Bai responded indignantly. She constrained the young lady to sit behind her and permitted the correspondent to snap a photo of them together. After it was published in a magazine, people all over the world saw the image. The journal found out about a rally in support of women's rights the following week and recommended it to the reporter. Upon the arrival of the meeting, he likewise composed a discourse for Gong Ji Bai. Gong Gabi tore the speech up after examining it. She brought a chair onto the stage and lowered the height of the microphone. She spoke with everyone from the most familiar vantage point. She asserted that every person in this establishment is a prostitute, and are always looked down upon. However, the children of prostitutes are also entitled to education. Their posterity are additionally India's future. She would not leave Gangu by making it plentifully understood. All of the homeless women in this area will be granted the right to live in dignity in society. Gong, Goodbye's appeal got the eye of specific people. Local politicians knocked on Gong Ji Bai's door to pitch themselves to her and promised her a meeting with the president. Gong Farewell consistently concurred. In any case, she pushed back her departure the night before. The reporter was aware of the man, but Gong hoped she would never meet him because if they did, her passion for women's rights and fighting would vanish. Gong had wondered for 15 years whether she would ever meet the ex-boyfriend who had dumped her. How Gong might interpret everything reinforces her determination. She then presents the hopes of the village to the president. Gangubai asked the president to legitimize prostitution since, in such a case that there is an overall population, there will be prostitution. Girls are being exchanged for current purchases. Instead of punishing the seller and the price, the victim is left to suffer through everything. Prostitutes are deprived of almost all of their rights, even mentors who are homeless. They are individuals being referred to, but they are treated as hooligans. Gong, who buys tears, was given a look as the president promised to convene a committee to discuss the issue with them. P. Inde, Roseanne Gangu, by chest. Everyone in the world will always be aware of Gongji bites. Then the rose forest will flourish. Gangu Bai showed respect to women without showing any poise so that the young women were not left homeless and uprooted and could breathe freely here. A genuine story is the reason for this film. Gangu was a major star who needed to be popular, and her life turned into a film that individuals and history will recollect. Turn on notifications, please subscribe for more videos like this, and like the channel to support it. Thank you very much for watching.